Welcome to the show, the Big Five, and our panel is coming up next. But we'll start off the Elias Macko show this morning with the leader of the Quebec Liberal Party, Charles Milliard. Yesterday, Milliard said he would renew the use of the notwithstanding clause for Bill 96, a move that marks a clear break from his party's previous position. Let's find out more, and we head over now to the leader of the Quebec Liberals, Charles Milliard. He's on the line. Monsieur Milliard, bienvenue à l'émission.
Good morning, Elias. How are you?
Very good. So first things first. Obviously, you're asked this yesterday in sort of a scrum-like scenario, the hot room there. And I guess, is there a clarification needed here? I know you met with your caucus last night. What is your position here on the use of the notwithstanding clause? And we'll start off with Bill 96.
Well, first, thank you for inviting me this morning. I'm happy to be here. These have been busy days. As you know, when you're leading in the polls, it's part of the job. That being said, a couple of precisions before I answer your question. You know what? I am the same guy as I was the last time we met, or the last time I went to CJAD. You know that I've mentioned to you many times that I came into politics to reunite Quebecers, to talk to 100% of Quebecers. It is a tough task, but I'm up for that challenge. And I understand that, the community has been somewhat traumatized by 8 years of the CAD government. But I'm going to ask you to bear with me. The PLQ has voted against Bill 96 in 2021, as you know, and for many reasons that I'm assuming your listeners know about. But the protection of French is a top priority. It's a top priority for Quebecers, I'm assuming for your listeners as well, and for the PLQ. And so this is a message for voters, for MNAs, for members. So what do we do based on that? I guess, Elias, my position is much more simpler than the headlines that I've read since yesterday. What I said yesterday is that I want to fix Bill 96 so that the notwithstanding clause will not be necessary. And yesterday, and I'm almost done, yesterday I gave two examples of things that I would modify. And these two examples, I've been saying them for the past 5 years as former CEO of the FCCQ and now as leader of the PLQ. It is to reduce the administrative burden and the inquiry powers when it comes to 96 and to change the 6-month period to learn French for immigrants. Of course, I could have spoken about protection of rights when it comes to healthcare and education, but this is obvious to me. It has always been, our traditional position. And I also want to add, and I'm done after that, I also want to add in an upcoming law, new positive measures to promote in a positive way French, but this will be presented in the upcoming platform.
Okay, but as the things that you mentioned yesterday, your issues here, right? What are the red tape for businesses and how it affects immigrants after 6 months. I didn't hear anything about the English-speaking community. I didn't hear anything about this, the cap on CJEP enrollments, which is basically a long-term cap on the CJEP, the English CJEP system. I didn't hear anything about that. I didn't hear about some of the stuff that's been imposed on municipalities on providing services. So are you also going to change much more to Bill 96, or is it just those two elements?
No, as I mentioned, I was asked to give some examples, so I gave those two examples. But I just mentioned that based on the question of education, these are elements that I want to change because it has always been our position. But there's a difference between scrapping Bill 96 and changing it because there are some good elements on it, and I'm going to give you some examples. The implementation of Francisation Québec, when it's well-founded, it's a good idea. Commissaire à la langue française, the Ministry of Langue Française, the role of Quebec with the French-speaking communities in the rest of Canada. Those are interesting elements on Bill 96. So I guess the only difference yesterday is about the clause, because I just mentioned that the clause is a political tool for provinces, for premiers, for governments. And as premier, I want to have all the tools in my possession.
I understand that, but it seems like once you go down the list, okay, we'll change this and we'll change this. And I haven't mentioned everything. We'll change more. It sort of seems like, well, geez, why don't you just get rid of it then? And again, as you mentioned off the top, your party voted against this bill when it was passed.
I understand that, but it was in 2022. I'm here now, and we have a bill that became a law. There are some good elements on it that I just mentioned, but my main focus, Elias, is this two-step approach. Fix 96, so it is a more legitimate, a more respectful law. And then afterwards, when it's a law that we like, I'm gonna defend it day in, day out with all the political tools that the premiers have.
So
And
yeah. Listen, I do
go
want to
ahead.
ask you this because yesterday we had the leader of the Conservative Party of Quebec, Eric Duhem, on the
Yes.
show. One of the things I asked him, I said, listen, you're trying to court nationalists who may be unhappy with the CAQ, the Bernard Drinville types, right? That's a lot of hardline nationalists, hardliners on language. And I said to him, I said, so are you going to backtrack on your position on Bill 96 once you welcome all of these hardline nationalists? Here's what he said.
First off, we're not going to backtrack on that. It's a matter of principle, of individual freedom, of freedom of choice, and that's non-negotiable.
So I need to ask you, like, why is Eric Duhem, and he's been consistent for the last 4 years against Bill 96. Why is it so easy for him? And he's a francophone. He's gearing for francophone votes as well. Why is it so easy for him to just say, nope, we don't like 96, and it's so difficult for you and your party right now?
Because, let's talk about Mr. Duhem. You know that first he has voted yes in the last two referendum, and as of this morning, he's still unable to say what he's going to vote for in an upcoming referendum. And one of the first motions that he put on the floor at the National Assembly for the PCQ is to confirm the right for Quebec to use the notwithstanding clause. And now he's trying to recruit all the bleu caquistes and Bernard Drinville, the father of the charter. So I'm not gonna take any lessons from Eric Duhem when it comes to talking, discussing, and living with the English-speaking community. And if we want to talk about, my other opponents, well, the CAQ is basically the problem, and the PQ has always said that 96 is just not enough. So you know what, Elias? I'm going to succeed where others have failed. I'm going to be promoting and defending French in Quebec, but I'm also going to be protecting rights of all communities. But to do that, I'm going to need support, trust, openness, flexibility. I have a team of seasoned M&As from the community with me that are very close to me, and we talk often. We don't need special or emergency caucus to talk. We talk on a daily basis, especially when the National Assembly is prorogued by the CAQ. So it's not a change. It's a way to be honest about the things that needs to be changed. But I've been on your mic many times, and I am the same guy as I was yesterday.
So let me ask you this. I want to talk about the notwithstanding clause in general and your threshold for the use of the notwithstanding clause. A bill that Robert Barassa has used the notwithstanding clause. So, because yesterday you said you wouldn't use it for Bills 21 and Bills 9. You're going to use it for Bill 96. I guess I'm wondering about these thresholds here. Why is 96 worthy of it, but the others are not?
Again, the first step is to fix 96 so that we don't need to use it. Second time. And on Bill 21, well, I think, and we've been very clear about that at the PLQ, it is a clear attack on rights. And we see what's happening right now with the shortage of teachers, with the shortage of people in daycare centers and garderies. So we always said that we wouldn't be renewing the clause in 2029.
So you believe the shortage? Shortage of teachers in Quebec has to do with Bill 21? Because I look at Ontario, they don't have these laws. They have a larger, and even per capita wise, they have a larger gaps and larger shortages of teachers and daycare educators. They don't have these laws.
From what I understand, a lot of teachers and support staff has been leaving the profession because of Bill 21. There was another article in Journal de Montréal yesterday on that. So this was predictable. So 21 is a clear attack on rights. So that's the difference that I make. 96 is a more global law, and I think we can fix it and then defend it day in, day out to both protect French and protect rights.
So will you replace Bill 21 with anything? Because one of the things here, it's interesting when a party says we're going to get rid of something, and then they don't have a plan to deal with the issues as why we have Bill 21 in the first place. So what is your plan? Or is it just get rid of Bill 21 and replace it with nothing?
Well, first, I want to hear what the court has to say. I know that we live in a state of law, so we're going to have a hearing and a judgment coming soon. And what I've said multiple times is that the conclusions of the Commission Bouchard-Taylor back in 2008 was closer to what I believe in. So again, the first step is to hear what the court has to say, and we're going to be very clear about that for the upcoming election. But I do want to hear what the court has to say. I think that's what living in a state of law is.
All right, Mr. Milliard, I know we have to leave it there. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show this morning and talking to our listeners. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
That is the leader of the Quebec Liberal Party, Charles Milliard.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.